Hello and namaskar everyone. Welcome to Dating the Data. We do a bunch of data stuff around here and this is episode 2 of our series on Spark and Scala. Before we dive into today's discussion, I would like to shed some light on a few options for you to practice Scala. So the one that we saw last time was IntelliJ, right? And it's like the de facto standard. It's where you would develop your code and have fun with Scala. But there are just certain times when you don't have access to your laptop or you're on the go and all you have is your phone. So I'm just gonna talk about a few options so that you can still continue with your practice. I'll just go on Google and there are a few platforms. I'm gonna talk about two of them. First one is Repl. So this is a Repl platform. It has compilers for a lot of different languages, and it also has one for Scala. I happen to have an account here, but you have to sign in here to actually start using this platform. There are a bunch of standard steps, but once you are signed in, you have the screen, this kind of your home page, landing page over here, and don't get intimidated by all the fancy stuff around here. What you have to do is create REPL, select the language. I'm gonna say Scala, and this is your file name. So I'm just gonna call it hello world for now. Classic Vaishnavi. Right, and I'm just gonna hit create REPL. It will launch a Scala shell for me. This is going to take me to the tour. I'm just gonna skip that. See, the one that it opened with a lot of fancy characters, it's the class file. It's kind of like a compiled version of your code. You have a similar thing in Java as well, something called as a bytecode, right? So this is that. We don't need this. We are not going to be able to edit it. We want the one which says dot Scala, like the one around here, one with three red marks kind of. It's the Scala sign. I'm gonna click on here and I have my hello world program over here already because I wrote it previously, and it's just the same program that we had back on our IntelliJ. It's the exact same program, and I'm just gonna try and run this over here. Yay, I see the console over here. I'm just gonna get rid of this. It takes a moment to run, so we're just gonna let it run here. Yeah, and you see the output over here. There is one more option for you, which is called as Scasti. It is also an online compiler for Scala. This one is more specific to Scala though, and I will go and copy my code from here, paste it here, hit run. Good thing about this one is that it does run your program, as you can see. It also gets an option to download it, and this one runs very well on phone as well. So when you're on the go, when you're traveling or something, and you're carrying your phone and you don't know what to do, so you can just catch up with your practice on here. One more thing before we start today's discussion. um, in your machine or anywhere where you have a shell, you can also practice Scala on Scala shell. So the only command that you need is Scala, and you hit enter, and it opens up your Scala shell, whichever version you have downloaded. I'm just gonna let it take its time to just launch my shell. Let's just get rid of this one, and we can see that our Scala shell is here and ready to use. Don't bother by those alerts. I guess that is some standard thing that happens. And I'm just gonna say one simple line over here. I'm just gonna do a println. Let's do what it happens. So on Scala shell, what you can do is you can try and run a smaller code snippets, right? When you are just trying out of a new thing to inject into your code or something like that. So that's when you can use Scala shell to test your logic or things like that. All right. So now that we are done with this, let's begin today's discussion. Today we are going to talk about variables and data types in Scala. And this lesson onwards, I'm going to specifically refer to the Scala official documentation for each topic. And don't worry, I will put a link down in the description. But as for today's discussion, we're going to talk about variables and data types. All right. So there are two types of variables in Scala, as you can see on the screen. One is val and one is var. So val is an immutable variable. Immutable literally means that you cannot change the value, or you can change it ever in the program. And var creates a mutable variable. Mutable means you can change it using during your program, right? And these are the ways of creating it. All right. So let's just see an example quickly. I have my Scala shell launched on my terminal. So I'm just going to take you there. So if I say val a equals to 0, it says val a is 0. Don't get intimidated by this colon and this int. We are going to talk about it just in a little while. And let's say var b equals to 10. Okay. Now we have two variables around here. One is a, one is b. A is val, immutable. B is var, which is mutable. A we can change, B we cannot change. Let's just see that in the action. So I'm going to try and assign a new value to A. I'm just going to say A is equals to 30. Reassignment to val, not possible since val is immutable. So the compiler knows that this is the immutable type and it will not allow you to assign it a new value. But in case of our mutable variable, let's try and assign it a new value. So it mutated B because it was indeed mutable. And if I say B now, I get 30. That's the new value. We mutated it. We changed it. So that's the difference between val and var. And I hope you understood it. If not, hit me in the comments. But yeah, let's move on to the next part over here. They have just given an example. Let's try this one also. Similar thing. Just gonna copy this code, paste it around here. That's right, it's a val and we are expecting it to not change. So let's just do what they did. Aloha. Let's make it a string. We're gonna talk about all these fancy things just in a little bit. Don't get intimidated. But yes, we are expecting it to not be able to do the reassignment, and as expected it threw an error. It threw us out. It says I cannot do it. All right, so moving on. Before this part, I'm just gonna quickly take you to the next section because I think this part will make more sense after that. So built-in data types. There are two types of data types in Scala. At least I bifurcate them that ways. One is numeric, another is non-numeric. So first let's see the numeric types. So if you have a number with a decimal point, you would use these two down here, double and float. And if you have a whole number like 1 or 2 or 10 or 100 or 1000, you would probably use these ones over here. Now, according to documentation, int and double are the default types. So if you have a number with a decimal point, by default, Scala compiler is smart enough to understand that, oh, this is a number with a decimal point, so it's a double, because since it's the default. And if it's a whole number, it will recognize it to be an int data type. All right, so we have an example around here, and let's just see that in action. I'm just gonna clear my screen over here. Okay, so val I equals to 1 to 3, and Scala recognizes it as an int. Let's try another one. Val g equals to a number which makes more sense, possibly 2.5. Now the functionality of Scala, this functionality of Scala is called as type inference. That means Scala can infer the type of a value of a variable from the value of it. You give the value, as a number, whole number, it recognized, inferred it to be an int, and when you gave a value with a decimal point, it inferred it to be a double. Right. Now, moving on, there are a little more specific types over here, which wherein you can use the special letters to indicate which type you want it. For example, if I say val x equals to let's call it 3.5, by default it will take double, but if I want it to be a float, I will say val y equals to 4.5, and I'll give a little f over here to indicate that it's a float, and now it knows that it's a float. Similarly, this is an int, as we know, but if I want it to be a long, for example, I have to give this little L over here and it will recognize it to be a long. So you can play with these variables like so. And now we'll move on. These are like the few more types that Scala offers for you to handle very big numbers. So let's just see an example of this as well. I'll call it a different name because we already used A and the compiler might throw us out for that. Let's call it N. So right, it's a big number, so Scala has a way of handling that for you. It was a whole number. Now this one is a number with a decimal point. So that's a big decimal, not a big int. Alright, so these are like the two more special types that Scala offers you. Now this is all about the numeric data types that Scala has, and this is all for today. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.